How are all you lovely people doing today? My name is John, and today I am bringing you guys another episode of the Zombie Storyline Q&A. In this series, I take your questions about the zombie storyline, whether it be big, small, complicated, or simple. I am more than happy to answer your questions. So if you have any question about the zombie storyline, go ahead, leave it in the comments below. You might see yourself in the next episode. Before we begin, though, I'd like to remind you guys that we are getting very close to 100 followers on Twitter. I believe we are at 96, something like that. When we reach 100 followers, I'm going to do an open lobby live stream, so if you'd like to be a part of that, I'd recommend you follow me on Twitter. It should be happening very soon, and that'll be the only way you guys will be able to know about it in advance. Without further ado, let's begin the episode. The first question comes from Angel Paquitas, who said, how did the Mob of the Dead characters have an afterlife? So the first thing you need to understand is that the Mob of the Dead characters are trapped in a universe not traditional from ours. They're in this infinite cycle / purgatory. They're being punished for their crimes that they had committed throughout their life. Now, the way this infinite cycle works is that it has a trigger, and when that trigger is reached, the cycle begins again. So the characters die, and then boom, the cycle starts over from where it once was. Now, because they're not in a traditional universe, things don't work like we would expect them to. Rather than die right away, because part of it you have to remember is that they're already dead. They had actually been executed on the Golden Gate Bridge, and now they're in a limbo, a purgatory. They're a kind of dead, but they're not really, so things don't work like they normally do. We assume that because they're in this purgatory, it's run by Satan, and Satan is the one that created the afterlife. So before they really die in Mob of the Dead and the loop begins, they are sent into an afterlife. And this afterlife is, of course, what they use to revive themselves and go through the several puzzles within Mob of the Dead. That's at least what we think. Nothing is really confirmed. Shark doesn't give too much information on the mechanics behind it. Moving on, we have a question from the Hoopla who asks, do the Perca-Colas contain element 115, or are they just energy drinks on steroids? The Perca-Colas do in fact contain element 115. It's element 115 that gives them their special properties. Without it, we wouldn't be able to have perks like Jug that allows us to take more damage, or PhD Flopper that allows us to take flops. It gives them their iconic abilities, that and the ingredients that are mixed within it. But the more interesting thing, and the reason why we know these perks have element 115, is element 115 displacement. This is when an object is manipulated in time and space. A most notable example would be the transit bus. We have a futuristic robot driving a bus from the 1960s all throughout transit. It doesn't quite make sense. Or we have future weapons in a map like Mob of the Dead that takes place in 1930. If anything ever seems out of place, it's because element 115 has manipulated time and space. So we have these Perca-Colas that are seen all throughout the world, and they don't really belong to the time period. So what's the explanation? Element 115 displacement, and then from there we can prove that element 115 is in the perks. The final question comes from the Walking Sentry who asks, why are there zombies on Nuketown if it was a bomb test site and no people were there? There were people on Nuketown when the bomb went off. If you guys remember, at the end of the Black Ops 1 Nuketown multiplayer match, as soon as the match was over, the nuke came down and killed everybody on the site. Their dead bodies were reanimated by element 115 that I assume was in the rocket, and that started the initial outbreak. Soon CDC agents came in to investigate the area and they were overwhelmed by zombies. Once killed, they were also reanimated by element 115, and this is how the outbreak of zombies began. That's about it for this week's episode of the Zombie Storyline Q&A. If you've enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, or favorite anything's good. Remember to follow me at JohnnyJ25. A link is in the description. Have a fantastic day. Be sure to leave questions if you have any, and bye.